Today, on Be Something Wonderful, stop scrolling. This is the only video you need to manifest anything. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and these are the studios of Be Something Wonderful, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, good morning and welcome back to the studios of Be Something Wonderful. One of you reached out and said that you just heard about our channel, have started to check out the content, but have a question around this idea that, yeah, I've been assuming my wish fulfilled. I've been imagining my desired end. I've been affirming. I've been meditating on it. I've been impressing and reprogramming my subconscious. I've been regulating my nervous system, all of it, scripting, whatever it is. But what happens after months and months when nothing changes? How come nobody talks about that? What then? Well, guys, we're going to talk about this today and more. Here's the thing that I want you to remember. You are only manifesting and creating your story of who you are in your reality. Who and what you're conscious of being, but who and what you're conscious of being is your story. So you keep telling a story of who you are in your reality as someone that is doing all of these processes that are needed, but nothing is changing out there. Nothing's changing in your life. So your story is the story that nothing's changing. It's a story that nothing's manifesting. It's a story that I'm trying, but nothing, I've tried and tried and tried, but nothing's changing. I want to talk about this idea like we never have before. I want to go back to this powerful show called The Chosen. And there's a specific scene that I've talked about in many ways. And we're going to really unpack it again today, but from a different light, from the light of your question, right? This newbie on the channel, because we're going to answer your question in a very powerful way today. And if you go to the YouTube, The Chosen has their own YouTube channel, right? With millions of views and subscribers. If you type in Jesus Heals at the Pool, The Chosen, it will come right up. And there's a timestamp that I'm going to give you today because this is what I want to talk about. The timestamp that begins at 2 minutes and 2 seconds and goes to 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Very powerful. Why? The whole thing's powerful. So I always encourage you to watch the whole thing. Why? It's a metaphysical manifesting masterclass. This isn't a religious lesson. This is a metaphysical lesson. Jesus as your I am awareness of being. The Christ mind, all that is, that one divine mind that you are the center of. That's what this story is about. The paralyzed man is the physical world personality, the one telling the story that nothing's changing, that they've assumed, but months go by. Right? If you go to that scene, you'll hear the paralyzed man tell his story. No one brings me to the pool, and when I get close, they step over me. Right? He tells that story. That story is your reality. That story is your entire life experience. I want you to really understand this. Neville Goddard referred to it as inner speech or inner talking. Your story is your reality. When you change your story, you change your world. The paralyzed man represents that physically focused I am. And the man says, I've tried. I've tried. And Jesus, as your I am awareness, as the Christ mind, your higher self, who you are, that conscious mind that you are the center of. For a long time, I know. And you don't want false hope again. I understand. But this pool, it does nothing for you. It means nothing. They don't mean anything. You tell your story. You decide what it all means. And he goes, and you know it. Right? He goes to the paralyzed man, you know it. We know this. We know that we tell our own stories. We know that our entire life experience is our I am story. And Jesus says, but you're still here. You're still there telling that story, though. That nothing changes, that you try and try, and that no one tells you why. You want others to tell you your I am story. Right? No one can tell you your own story. You can allow them to. And you can decide that others, are the 3D conditions, circumstances, coaches, others, books, are going to tell me who I am. Or you can decide who you are. Jesus said, but you're still here. Why? The man says, I don't know. We don't know why we allow the messy middle, that I call it, right? The circumstances, the conditions, our past. We don't know why we allow that to tell our story. Instead of just telling the story of how we would like our life to be here and now. And know that in the telling of it, it's reality. Jesus, you don't need this pool. You only need me. You don't need those old stories of I am not that person I desire to be. It does nothing. You don't need all those processes and techniques that you keep doing to get something out there, to change something within you. You tell the story. You're the one that changes it, not the techniques. You're the power. Your I am story is all that matters. That's the message of this powerful scene. You don't need this pull. You only need me. You only need you as your own awareness, your story, that everything is unfolding perfectly, that you are that person that you desire to be. That's your story. That's powerful. I want to show this again. The one conscious and intelligent mind. There seems to, one of you had a question on, yeah, but Tom, what about no mind or the not mind? There's a lot of videos trending on that idea, right? That you've got to go beyond your mind, right? But remember, there's only one mind. So I get the idea of not mind or the no mind manifesting, right? Going beyond, but that's just saying go beyond the story of I am not to I am that which I desire to be. There's only one mind. So it's not your physical mind. It's the one mind of God and your physical perspective or viewpoint or vantage point within that one mind. That's why all things are possible. If it was just your mind, then you would be limited. Then things would be impossible. But because there's only one mind, that you don't even have to practice that not mind or no mind. In other words, that only means leave thoughts of I am not that person I desire to be. Leave all the thoughts and changing thoughts and feelings aside and decide who you are. That's all that means. You are the center of this one mind. You only need me. Look at this. You as the center. You as that one divine mind. Frame and create your entire life experience. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? That's the only question. Who are you? Because that creates your entire life experience. But when we mess around in the middle, you say, well, I've tried. I've been affirming and visualizing and assuming and healing and forgiving and reprogramming and impressing and regulating my nervous system and going on mental diets and flipping thoughts, trying to feel better. I'm doing not mind techniques now, no mind techniques. But nothing seems to be working. Because you're in the middle. You only need me. There you are, you and you. It's between you and you, not the middle. That's why Jesus said in Revelations 22:13, I am the Alpha and Omega, the first and last, the beginning and end. But there you are. All your focus is in this manifested frame. What appears to be solid, continuous reality or conditions. You're in the middle. The physical manifested frame of circumstances. As you focus here, well, you're paralyzed. That's what the paralyzed man represents. You're paralyzed by conditions that seem not to change. So you tell that story. And that story is your entire life experience. That story here. Versus saying, I can tell it like how I would like it to be right now. Because I frame it all. You only need me. You and you. That's what that meant. Not the middle. This is powerful. We'll come back to this visual in a few minutes. What's the real message here then? You are the ultimate source, the ultimate creator, the ultimate power and authority of your world, of your reality, of your entire life experience, in who you are. Not the middle. Not this middle. You're allowing the middle to tell who you are. You're allowing the story to tell the story. right? Those changing thoughts and feelings and all those techniques. And you're allowing that to say, I am not that person I desire to be. So that becomes your reality. That becomes your manifestation over and over again. Remember, every moment it's changing. It's never solid. It's never fixed. You're creating a past, an idea, where things haven't changed, and a future where things appear they won't change, and you'll never get to. So you create this future that seems out of reach, and a past where nothing seemed to change. But that's all being created right now from this manifested frame, from telling the story that I am not. And I want to say it again. No one and no thing has the power or authority to create in your reality. It is your reality. No one and nothing has the power and authority to make you think, feel, or experience anything. So where does the power and authority come from? You. Your story. It's your story that you're only ever feeling your story about who you are. We talk about this idea that you're only ever feeling your thoughts or your assumptions, but really, what are you really feeling? Your story. You can have all sorts of thoughts and decide that you're not going to put a story around it and feel nothing about them. I am the Alpha and Omega, the first and last, the beginning and the end. No one and no thing has the power and authority to tell your story but you. Wow. Who is telling your story? Who are you? Because your story is your entire life experience. And I know many of you question, well, Neville Goddard and all of these spiritual teachers talk about feeling all the time. And that feeling is the secret. But Neville Goddard and others were clear that it's not about changing thoughts and feelings. Like Neville said, I do not mean emotion when I speak of feeling of wish fulfilled, but the acceptance of the fact that it is fulfilled. The acceptance of the fact that you're a certain identity. A story, you telling your story. So it's not about these changing thoughts and feelings unless you allow them to be your story. Unless you allow them to tell your story for you. Unless you allow the story to tell your story. Your identity, the story you're telling yourself and others about those thoughts and feelings is what creates your entire life experience. It's not the thoughts and feelings, it's the story that you create around those changing thoughts and feelings. If you don't create a story around them, they do nothing. They mean nothing, as Jesus said in that scene. But if you put a story around them, then you empower them to tell your story. You give them reality. Your identity, your story, what you assume to be the truth of who you are in your reality, that's your entire life experience. Why would you allow the middle? Why would you form a story around that middle? When you change your story, you change your life. Stop allowing the middle to tell your story. Stop accepting the middle as who you are. That's why in the verse in Scripture that I bring up quite a bit, Jesus says your I am awareness, asking his disciples, but who do you say that I am? Not the middle, not others, not the world, but who do you say I am? And then Simon Peter finally answers, Christ, the Son of the living God. In other words, you get to tell your story of who you are. You are all that is. No one defines that but you. That's why nothing seems to change when you assume and affirm and imagine and program and impress and regulate until you're blue in the face. That's what you said. I do it until I'm blue in the face. Because that's your story. And your story creates it all. When you tell a different story, you create a different life in that moment. You change your entire life experience. That's why this manifesting video is the only one you need. Watch that scene and with this idea that you only need that story of who you really are. Tell the story of how you would like things to be. And that's what they'll be. If it's about your past, tell it how you would have liked it to be. And that's what it will be. It changes everything in this moment. You change your entire life experience. Past, present, and future, with your story right now. So that's where that So we often wonder, where does these feelings coming from? It's a feeling of an identity. Who you say you are. That's what Neville Goddard means by feeling. He called them feeling tones, as I referred to in one of the videos, right? The idea that you have a certain tone or feeling with your identity of who you are. But as you tell that new story, that changes because you've decided this is who I am now. Not telling a story that I'm always doing processes and nothing changes, but this is who I am now. This is my story, right? And those changing thoughts and feelings, well, they mean nothing. They do nothing unless you put a story around them and give them meaning and give them reality. So stop scrolling. This is the only video you need to manifest anything. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and these are the studios of Be Something Wonderful, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, be sure to join us on the Tom Kearin channel. We have another big video there. And in June, we're going to have our 6th live event, our 30th live event overall, on the Be Something Wonderful membership channel. Another live stream where you can ask your questions live as we roll. So it's going to be fun. Creators, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude, this is Tom Kearin here in the studios of Be Something Wonderful. Until next time, we'll see you soon.